patience with you. Too many tribulations. It's true, 'cause times will change. They don't remain the same. Point blank rain, I seen strain. It come down, frame. Who's to blame? Ain't got the time with suspicions on my mind. I ain't got the time with suspicions on my mind. I ain't got the time with suspicions on my mind. I ain't got the time with suspicions on my mind. Do you remember a trip when you took a small slip, fell down on your head, turned the earth to blood red? Couldn't
am the devil. I am the Lord Satan from the netherworld, ruler of the damned and eternal king of hell. Even I, the master of deceit, can only stomach so much bullshit from the mainstream media and indie grifters. That's why I tune in to Morning Extra with Uncle Warren, because he eliminates my competition, and also because I know I'm gonna see that motherfucker soon.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a burger and a chicken and that naked all go down. Baby's got a burger and a chicken and that shit and all go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Corrosion now. Baby's got it.
Good morning, everybody. Baby's got it, all right. Baby's got hypothermia. It's cold. It's chilly willy out there. It was 4 degrees last time I checked here in Chicago. Freezing, to say the least. We'll talk more about cold air across the country here in a moment. A shout out who is here. Looks like Chuck's here. Good to see you, Chuck. And Max Sarjay as well. And we have some lurkers lurking about as usual, which is fine. I like lurking in the chats. Not around someone's home though, because that's against the law. That's probably not a thing to do unless you want to get shot. Yeah, so we got a few things to get to today. First, of course, we want to shout out our buddy Chanda, who is dealing with lung cancer right now and doing a damn fine job of fighting it back, but she still needs your help financially. So if you can donate to her GoFundMe link, it's down below in the description. If not, if you could share out the link, that would be great too. Also, our buddy Kevin over at Black Bear News, he lost his home in one of the fires out there in Los Angeles, and he could use our help too. Again, the links are down below. If you can't donate, that's fine. If you can share out the links, that works as well. Yeah, so she's going live this morning. Okay, cool. Very good. Yeah, it's Inauguration Day, so Orange Man back. Instead of Orange Man bad, you get it, Orange Man back. Is there a good story to go with the lurking incident? No. It was just a case of I was looking for somebody's apartment and found the wrong one and had to scram. Nothing nefarious happened. It was just, oopsie, gotta go. What's up, Leanna? Good to see you. Eating salad equals lurking. Okay, sure. I mean, look, I don't judge. Look, this isn't the Merriam-Webster, dictionary over here defining what your idea of lurking is. So, it's all good. I was cleaning bathroom windows. I don't know. This was a long time ago. It was one of these places where all the apartments look alike. Anyway, no harm, no foul. I think I met a new person, so it was nice. You meet new friends when you lurk accidentally. So we were talking about cold weather here in Chicago and probably all kinds of places around the country here. So as heavy snow and frigid Arctic air blasts put 70 million across the U.S. under a winter storm warning. That's right. So, yes, we are a full month into winter, and this is what you get when you're a full month into winter. Tens of millions of residents along the East Coast are bracing for several inches of snow, followed by dangerously cold temperatures that will take hold in much of the country from the northern plains to the tip of Maine. Oh, the tip. Winter storm warnings issued by the National Weather Service have already gone into effect for parts of the mid-Atlantic through this morning, with the forecast projecting up to a half a foot of snow. Warnings will begin in New England, with parts of Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, and Connecticut seeing as much as 10 inches, giggity, of snow. Lucky you if snow means something else. Mark Chenard, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in College Park, Maryland, projected that as many as 70 million residents will be under some kind of winter storm hazards warning in the coming days, including in New England and the mid-Atlantic. Large cities like Philadelphia, New York, and Boston could see several inches of snow this evening, with the highest totals being outside of major cities. There will certainly be more hazardous road conditions anywhere from D.C. up the whole I-95 corridor and then inland from there later today and tonight, Chenard said. Then it gets quite cold beyond that. Any roads that haven't been treated or cleared will still likely be some hazardous travel today. So that's why they had to move the inauguration inside, because it was way too cold out there. Trumpy got those layers of fat, but he ain't got that many. New York City Mayor Eric Adams urged city residents to take the subway and buses if they have to travel during the storm to make it easier for crews to clear the streets. He said people who need help with heating or frozen pipes can call 311. I don't know. I think a lot of other cities have 3112 too, or something similar for those kinds of things. And for residents to check in on their neighbors during the frigid cold. Weather Service says there was a chance of snow showers Sunday afternoon and evening, where the Bills were hosting the Ravens, and they won. They beat the Ravens. Sorry, spoiler alert. But they live near these, I think they live near Lake Erie or Lake Ontario, I think, something like that. And they get that lake effect snow like we do up here. We get that lake effect snow here around Lake Michigan. So New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy declared a state of emergency for all 21 counties in the Garden State. Winter storm warning was in effect for 10 counties in the northern part of the state, where 6 to 8 inches of snow was expected to fall from yesterday through late evening. So this is the return of the Arctic blast. The snow is just the start of the chaotic week of weather. Much of the eastern half of the U.S. will be enduring some of the coldest temperatures this winter, if not for several years. An area from the Rockies into the northern plains will see colder than normal temperatures coming into the week, with temperatures dropping to minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit to minus 55 degrees Fahrenheit on Sunday and Monday. So that's like up in the north there. Wind chills of minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit were already being clocked in parts of North Dakota and Minnesota. Sub-zero wind chills are forecast to reach as far as south as Oklahoma and the Tennessee Valley. Yeah, and they're already starting to see that down there. So the cold weather forecasted for today prompted the removal of the inauguration inside to the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. So it's going to be a cold day. Let's see. And plus the winds too. When you get those cold winds and then you get that wind with it too. Ooh, not good. As happened earlier this month, this latest cold snap comes from a disruption in the polar vortex, the ring of cold air usually trapped about the North Pole. The cold air will moderate as it moves southward and eastward, but the central and eastern U.S. will still be cold with highs in the teens and 20s today into tomorrow. The mid-Atlantic and Northeast will also have highs in the teens and 20s, lows in the single digits and below zero, and wind chills below zero as well. The colder temperatures will reach down into the south early this week, where as many as 30 million people could see a wintry mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. The bugaboos of the South, because they really don't know how to handle that very well on the roads. The unusual conditions are expected to stretch from Texas into northern Florida and the Carolinas. Impacts are expected to start in Texas tonight and spread across the Gulf Coast and Southeast into Tuesday and Wednesday. A combination of frigid air with a low-pressure system over the Gulf are behind the storm, which could bring heavy snow just south of the I-20 corridor across northern Louisiana and into Mississippi, and a mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain near the interstate, the I-10 corridor from Houston to Mobile, Alabama. And for them to get those temperatures that far south is crazy. So the governor of Louisiana issued a state of an emergency. He encouraged Louisianans to be prepared and to monitor the weather forecast and to drink lots of alcohol. No, they didn't say that. I said that. They should drink lots of alcohol and stay warm because it's going to be cold down there. So looking at Zoom Earth, this is what all this blue and purple. Yeah, that's cold temperatures here. Like even down here in New Orleans, you're getting down into freezing temperatures and in the 20s here. And look at all this. This up here is what's crazy. These are negative temperatures up here in Canada. Up here in Thunder Bay. Thunder Bay is negative 21 degrees Fahrenheit, eh? So yeah, so all that's going to be like making its way down because the jet stream is fucked up. That's going across the United States there. It's going lower than it usually does. So that means all this air is going to come down here and make things a lot colder than they usually do. So that's it for your meteorological show for today. Weather brought to you by AccuWeather and McDonald's. No, I'm kidding. We're not sponsored by anybody. So, today is Inauguration Day, and that means technically Joe is president for one more day. And what does he do? Well, probably some things you don't like. They're playing golf in the Arctic Circle. Yeah, probably. It's probably warmer up there than it is here. So Biden preemptively pardons members of the January 6th panel and other Trump targets, including your favorite. He's coming up. So in the final hours of his presidency, Joe Biden on Monday issued preemptive pardons to a number of current and former lawmakers and public officials whom President-elect Donald Trump has attacked. Snot weather. It is. It is definitely snot weather. I hate it. I hate snot weather. Those pardoned include Anthony Fauci, the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Mark Milley, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and members of the House Select Committee that investigated the January 6, 2021 insurrection incited by Trump, who has pledged to pursue retribution against his political opponents. And somebody else was asking this question, too. It's like, well, why would they get a presidential pardon if they didn't break the law? Or did they? Dun, dun, dun. Something tells me they did. You don't give out pardons just for funsies. This is fun. Biden says, the issuance of these pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that any individual engaged in any wrongdoing, nor should acceptance be misconstrued as an admission of guilt for any offense. Biden said in a statement, our nation owes these public servants a debt of gratitude for their tireless commitment to our country. And then he shat his pants. These are exceptional circumstances, and I cannot in good conscience do nothing, the outgoing president continued, even when individuals have done nothing wrong and, in fact, have done the right thing and will ultimately be exonerated. The mere fact of being investigated or prosecuted can irreparably damage reputations and finances. Don't forget that the and finances part. Biden has made sweeping use of his clemency powers in the final days of his White House term, commuting the sentences of thousands of people convicted for nonviolent drug offenses and almost completely emptying federal death row. But Biden has not granted clemency to several high-profile individuals whose causes progressive lawmakers and human rights organizations have championed, including Charles Littlejohn, a former IRS contractor serving a 5-year prison sentence for leaking the income tax records of thousands of rich Americans, Trump among them, and Stephen Donziger, who faced an unprecedented legal assault led by Chevron after he helped secure a historic settlement against the company over oil dumped in the Amazon rainforest. Yes. So Biden pardoning Fauci, that's very telling. You're like Bella, you don't hate everything. Yeah, I don't say. Well, you don't hate everything. You just tend to generalize a lot at times. It's just if you're going to comment per story. Don't make generalizations. I hate this. That's okay. Well, that's nice, but that's not what we're talking about. So, but thanks for your input. Appreciate you there. What else we got here in the mix? So yeah, we were talking about the inauguration. And apparently that's going to be going down here in about 33 minutes. So this is from AP. This is what's going on right now. You got a bunch of people. I guess these are people outside who are watching, like, jumbotrons or something about what's going on inside. I would not be out there. It's like 10 degrees or some shit like that. These people are stupid. So here on the left is what's going on right now in the rotunda. So they're going to do all the bullshit in there, and there's all these fucking suckers, and yeah, okay. So I think Marcus is doing a live show right now just on the inauguration. So yeah, so that's probably where some of our folks are today, which is fine, This, I guess it's a bit of history. It's only the second time that a president has been reelected after sitting out a term. I think it was Grover Cleveland back in the late 1800s. I think he served a term, then he wasn't there, and then he came back. So, yeah. So anyway, that's what's going on there. Nothing really. It's just a bunch of people standing around. Looks like. Who else is in here? Bush is there. Obama's there. I guess they did. There's Clinton there. I guess they said they weren't going to be there, but I guess maybe they weren't going to be at the inaugural ball or something. I don't know. I don't really give a shit about this stuff, but some of you guys do. So that's going on right now. AP's got it going live. Like I said, Marcus is doing a show on it too over there at Political Matrix. Let's get back to our bullshit here. So yes, what is going on with Trump's inauguration? These are the scheduled events. They've already left the White House, I believe now. So for the second time, Trump's going to be sworn in as president. His inauguration in D.C. will kick off at noon local time. Like I said, that's probably about 31 minutes from now. While most of the inauguration's events will occur today, they will officially conclude on Tuesday with a traditional prayer service at Washington National Cathedral. Okay, so here's a look at the lineup of official events surrounding Trump's second inauguration as president. It's still unclear how the decision to move Trump's swearing in indoors to the Capitol rotunda might affect the scheduled lineup for the ceremony. I guess since they have less room to work with. Trump will start, I guess he started the day by attending a service at St. John's Episcopal Church located across Lafayette Park from the White House, a tradition for presidents-elect. So he entered the church, and then as he was walking out, they put a blanket over him to put out the fire since he burst into flames once he walked into the church. Then there's Trump and incoming First Lady Melania Trump. We'll meet outgoing President Joe Biden, First Lady Biden at the White House for a tea that's traditionally held to welcome a new president. Tea? The fuck we doing tea for? So stupid. Swearing-in ceremony inside the U.S. Capitol Rotunda. So musical prelude by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln Combined Choirs. And there's the prelude, the President's Own by the United States Marine Band. A call to order by Senator Amy Klobuchar, Democrat from Minnesota. She was the one that went to the White House. And so what it is, they picked up the first ladies, then they picked up the vice presidents and the vice president-elect, and then they picked up the president. So the vice presidents better halves, they don't get squat. They got to take the bus. They got to get an Uber. You did Obama's first burrito. Yeah, it was cold. I ain't going out there for that. That's like New Year's Eve. I ain't going doing that bullshit. So the invocation by Cardinal Timothy Dolan, Archbishop of New York, and the Reverend Franklin Graham. That's Jimmy Graham's. Was it? Is it Billy Graham? Jimmy Graham used to play tight end. Sorry. So Billy Graham, son of Samaritan's Purse and the Billy Graham Evangelical Association. Oh, America, performed by opera singer Christopher Macchio, not to be confused with Ralph Macchio. The vice presidential oath of office administered by the U.S. Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Then there's America the Beautiful, performed by Carrie Underwood, the Armed Forces Chorus, and the U.S. Naval Academy Glee Club. The presidential oath of office administered by Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts. The Battle Hymn of the Republic, performed by the U.S. Naval Academy Glee Club. And then it's Trump's inaugural address. So there is the benediction from Yeshiva University's President Ari Berman, Imam Husham al-Husseini of the Karbala Islamic Education Center, Senior Pastor Lorenzo Sewell of 180 Church Detroit, and the Reverend Frank Mann of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn. Star Spangled Banner, performed by Christopher Macchio. Again, not Ralph Macchio. Don't get excited. Then there's a formal farewell that will be held for Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris as they depart the U.S. Capitol. Basically, it's just two guys in uniform kicking them in the ass saying, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. They should already be outlawed now. Sorry. All right, so Trump will head to the president's room just off the Senate chamber in the U.S. Capitol for a signing ceremony where members of Congress watch as the newly sworn-in president signs nominations, memorandums, and executive orders. And apparently he's going to be signing a bunch of executive orders regarding immigration, I think the big ones. The new president and vice president attend a luncheon at the National Statuary Hall in the U.S. Capitol, hosted by the Joint Congressional Committee on Inaugural Ceremonies. Yawn. After the luncheon, the president and vice president head to the east front steps of the U.S. Capitol, where they are to review the military troops. Then there's a presidential parade. Oh, dear God. Because of cold weather, Trump is moving the traditional parade down Pennsylvania Avenue to Washington's Capital One Arena. The event is expected to feature marching bands and remarks from Trump. Then there's the Oval Office ceremony where Trump heads to the White House for an Oval Office thing. Oh, my God. And inaugural balls. Giggity, giggity, goo, giggity, goo, 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 giggity, 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 goo. Inaugural balls. Commander-in-Chief inaugural ball, the country music band Rascal Flatts and country singer Parker McCollum will perform at the ball geared towards military service members. Trump is scheduled to speak. Liberty inaugural ball, rapper Nelly, country singer Jason Aldean, and the Village People are scheduled to perform at the ball geared towards Trump's supporters. Trump is set to give remarks, and yes, if there's balls involved, chances are the Village People will be in attendance. Then there's the Starlight Ball. Singer-songwriter Gavin DeGraw will perform, and Trump will speak at the third inaugural ball, at which guests are expected to be big donors of the incoming president. Look at this nerd. Yay! So who will be attending? Probably that jackass, of course. Besides a mix of invited foreign leaders, celebrities, and tech giants will also be in attendance. Scheduled to be there are Trump advisor Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla. You know who that guy is. Jeff Bezos is there, Mark Zuckerberg, all the sycophants. According to NBC News, several athletes and musicians will also be in attendance. They include National Football League wide receiver Antonio Brown. They're bringing Antonio Brown's crazy ass up in there. What the fuck? That guy's crazy as the shithouse rat. Boxer Mike Tyson, martial arts fighter Jorge Masvidal, and NFL player Evander Kane. NBC said, I never heard of that guy. Adding that musicians attending include Anuel AA, Justin Quills, Rod Wave, Kodak Black, and Fivio Foreign. Oh, yeah. They played at my wedding, that Fivio Foreign. The last surviving founding member of the Village People, Victor Willis, said on Facebook on Monday that the group will perform YMCA, the band's hit song, and a staple at Trump rallies. Uh-oh, young man, are you listening to me? I said, young man. So who's footing the bill for all this bullshit? Who's paying for the last member of Village People? The official events are financed by Trump's Inauguration Committee, which is chaired by longtime Trump ally Steve Witkoff. You know that guy, a real estate developer who is Trump's pick to be his Middle East envoy, and Kelly Loeffler, a former U.S. senator and Trump's choice to head the Small Business Administration. YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. Oopsie sauce. You know it's Trump, so you know there's some fuckery afoot, as Trump inauguration official is accused of embezzling Ohio disaster funds. Oh, you silly, silly people. Damn, that's a little big. That is exactly what she said. All right, let's do that. All right, so to assist in preparation for the inauguration, President-elect Donald Trump's team hired a man who was on the board of a nonprofit accused by the Ohio Attorney General of embezzling funds intended for victims of the Norfolk Southern train catastrophe in East Palestine, Ohio, according to The Intercept. Patrick Lee, the inaugural committee's deputy director and public liaison, was on the board of the Ohio Clean Water Fund, an LLC founded in Ohio, days after the train crashed in February 2023. Wow, that was only 2 years ago. It seems longer than that. Trump's visit to East Palestine became a focal point in his presidential campaign. The Ohio Clean Water Fund, claiming to represent the Second Harvest Food Bank, raised over $141,000 for families affected by the East Palestine disaster. However, Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost's office later described the collaboration as fraudulent, with the food bank denying any connection. Despite this, the Ohio Clean Water Fund sent the food bank $10,000 while keeping the remaining $131,000, according to the Attorney General's office. Yost subsequently described the Ohio Clean Water Fund as a sham charity, saying it must turn over more than $131,000 in pocketed donations, so the money truly does benefit East Palestine. A lawyer for Lee denied the allegations, stating that the payment made by Lee's organization was not an admission of guilt. Lee, not officially named as a defendant, did not address his involvement with the Ohio Clean Water Fund, which shared an address with his Virginia home. Oh, well, that's convenient. In a settlement with Ohio Attorney General Yost, Lee and the Ohio Clean Water Fund agreed to pay a six-figure reparation and were restricted from certain philanthropic activities in Ohio in exchange for dropping the accusations against them. Yost's lawsuit revealed that the charity, quote-unquote, had pocketed at least $131,000 of the donated funds while sending only $10,000 to the food bank. The East Palestine train crash became a major political issue in the 2024 presidential race. Was it really that major? With Trump's team emphasizing his visit to the catastrophe scene while comparing it with Biden's absence. Since the June 2023 settlement, LCM Strategies has received payments from Ohio Republican State Representatives Justin Pizzulli and Adam Matthews, who told The Intercept he was not familiar with Lee, the fund, or details of misuse, pointing out that LCM was engaged as a subcontractor rather than directly by his campaign. While FEC, that's Federal Election Commission records, show that neither Trump's campaign nor the Republican National Committee explicitly recruited Lee during the 2024 campaign season, past reports and sources corroborate his involvement as a former deputy director of public interaction for Trump's inauguration committee. Lee was not the only political figure connected to the alleged sham charity. Mike Pepple, founder of the Ohio Clean Water Fund, previously worked for Republican Congressman Mike Ruley. In August, Pepple settled with Yost, agreeing to pay reparations and cease some charitable activities to avoid litigation. Reports later indicated that Rulli had rehired Peppel, and Rulli's campaign had worked with Lee's firm, LCM Strategies, in 2021 and in 2022. So, yes, when it comes to funds like that, there's always fuckery afoot. So, that's why we tell people, keep your eyes peeled, stay frosty, because it's coming to a town near you. Last year alone, right, post-pandemic, the wealth of billionaires has surged even more. And I know you're not surprised by that. What's up, Wesley? Good to see you. I hope you're doing well. A new aristocracy. Billionaire wealth surged by $2 trillion last year. This is by Jake Johnson over there at Common Dreams. An Oxfam report published Monday shows that the combined wealth of the world's billionaires surged 3 times faster in 2024 than the previous year, rising by $2 trillion as efforts to combat global poverty remain stagnant. Yeah, because all the money's going to these fucking billionaires. The findings come before the U.S. is set to inaugurate President Trump, which is going to happen here in about 18 minutes. A billionaire whose campaign for a second White House term was backed by the world's richest man and whose proposed cabinet is stacked with billionaires. The report was also released as business and political elites gathered in Davos, Switzerland for the annual World Economic Forum Summit. The crazy town place. According to Oxfam, an average of nearly 4 new billionaires emerged every week in 2024, and billionaires saw their wealth grow by roughly $5.7 billion per day. The capture of our global economy by a privileged few has reached heights once considered unimaginable, said Amitabh Behar, Oxfam International's executive director. The failure to stop billionaires is now spawning soon-to-be trillionaires. Not only has the rate of billionaire wealth accumulation accelerated by 3 times, but so too has their power. The crown jewel of this oligarchy is a billionaire president, backed and bought by the world's richest man, Elon Musk, running the world's largest economy, Behar added. We present this report as a stark wake-up call that ordinary people the world over are being crushed by the enormous wealth of a tiny few. Oxfam's new report, titled Takers Not Makers, estimates that 36% of billionaire wealth is inherited and 18% stems from monopoly power accrued by corporate behemoths such as Amazon. Every billionaire under the age of 30 inherited their wealth, according to Oxfam. Of course they did. Another 6% of global billionaire wealth can be attributed to crony sources such as lobbying, funding political campaigns, and creating revolving doors between the private sector and civil service, the new report finds. All told, most billionaire wealth is taken, not earned. 60% comes from either inheritance, cronyism, and corruption, or monopoly power, according to the report. The ultra-rich like to tell us that getting rich takes skill, grit, and hard work, but the truth is most wealth is taken, not made, said Behar. So many of the so-called self-made are actually heirs to vast fortunes. That's true. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Oh, yeah, somebody pulled me up by my bootstraps already because I'm rich. Handed down through generations of unearned privilege. Untaxed billions of dollars in inheritance is an affront to fairness, perpetuating a new aristocracy where wealth and power stays locked in the hands of a few. If current trends persist, Oxfam estimates that the world is on track to see at least 5 trillionaires within a decade. Last year, we predicted the first trillionaire could emerge within a decade, but this shocking acceleration of wealth means that the world is now on course for at least 5, said Anna Marriott, Oxfam's inequality policy lead. The global economic system is broken, wholly unfit for purpose, as it enables and perpetuates this explosion of riches while nearly half of humanity continues to live in poverty. What's up, Global? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. In the face of such staggering wealth accumulation at the very top, Oxfam called on governments to abolish tax havens, tax the inheritances of the ultra-rich, more strictly regulate corporations to ensure they pay living wages and cap CEO pay, and provide debt relief to economically struggling nations to end the flow of wealth from south to north. Taken together, today's levels of extreme wealth concentration are based not on merit, says Oxfam. These are takers and not makers. Yes, and all of that stuff sounds very nice, the abolishing the tax havens and all this stuff. But you have to remember who controls the politicians, those very same people that you want to abolish tax havens for and all that stuff. So, again, try and vote your way out. I dare you. Not going to happen. But, you know, one can dream, I guess. So, meanwhile, come on, please. Can we do this? Okay, so checking in on SoCal and seeing what the fires are doing there. So, Southern California faces most urgent warning for strong winds and extreme fire damage. So it looks like they're down to two fires now. So the Santa Ana wind forecast for Southern California has worsened, with officials saying the conditions will bring the risk of large fire growth beginning today. The National Weather Service office in Oxnard yesterday issued the most extreme version of its red flag fire weather warning, known as a particularly dangerous situation alert. A large swath of Los Angeles and Ventura counties is likely to be affected, including burn areas in Malibu and Altadena. Weather Service meteorologists said they warned residents to prepare for the event, which is expected to start at noon today, noon locally, and continue until 10 a.m. tomorrow. Gusts of 50 to 70 mile per hour winds are forecast for the coasts and valleys in the mountains and foothills. Gusts from 60 to 80 miles per hour. No, thank you. With isolated gusts of 100 miles per hour are expected. So what they were saying last week before last. We'd encourage people to prepare that evacuation plan for you, your loved ones, pets. Pack essentials. Get that emergency go bag ready just in case. Fill up gas for cars and generators. Secure outdoor items and adjust travel plans, said Rose Schoenfeld, a Weather Service meteorologist. Kind of like you're gearing up for a hurricane, right? Get everything ready. If you got a bolt, get your bag, put it in the car. Have it already in the car so you're ready to go. In addition to Malibu and Altadena, the warning includes Burbank, Santa Clarita, Oxnard, Thousand Oaks, and Azusa. Ojai and Pasadena fall outside the boundary, Schoenfeld said. Okay. A conventional red flag warning indicating critical fire weather conditions and rapid fire spread with any new ignition is already in effect for wide swaths of counties of Los Angeles, San Diego, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, and Ventura from 10 a.m. Monday through 10 a.m. tomorrow. The new alert is an unprecedented fifth issuance of a particularly dangerous situation enhancement to a red flag warning in a single season by the Weather Service's Oxnard office, which covers L.A., Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo counties. The first three times the office issued that warning were followed by fires igniting and spreading rapidly. The almost 20,000-acre mountain fire in Ventura County in November, which razed 243 structures. The over 4,000-acre Franklin fire, which spread rapidly in Malibu and destroyed 20 buildings in December. And this month's Palisades and Eaton fires, among the most destructive and deadliest in modern California history. The Weather Service in Oxnard started issuing particularly dangerous situation warnings only in 2020. It sent out 2 that year in October and December. No others were issued until November of last year. Even with all the fires that they've had, it hasn't been this dangerous. Over the weekend, firefighters raced against the new threat of powerful winds to increase containment of the wildfires still burning in Pacific Palisades and Altadena, areas that fall under the red flag warning. As of yesterday, the Palisades fire, which has burned more than 23,700 acres and killed at least 10 people, was over half contained at 56%, according to the State Department of Forestry and Fire Protection. The Eaton fire, which has charred more than 14,000 acres and killed at least 17 people, was 81% contained. There are still 27 people reported missing, 20 from the Eaton fire and 7 from Palisades, according to LA County Sheriff's Department. Late yesterday, there were still communities near the Palisades fire that remained under evacuation orders, though areas where residents and only residents were being allowed in had expanded to the Palisades Highlands with daily escorts at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Evacuation warnings were lifted in other areas. Meanwhile, in Altadena, areas north of Mendocino and Harriet Streets remain under evacuation orders. South of that, the area north of Woodbury Road between Lincoln Avenue on the west and Lake Avenue on the east was still under an evacuation warning last night. The Altadena Sheriff's Station remained closed after concerns about airborne contaminants sparked a California division of OSHA complaint, Occupied Safety and Health complaint last week, though Sheriff Robert Luna said Sunday that he expected it would reopen in the early part of the week. More than 2,700 federal and state fire personnel continued to battle the Eaton fire Sunday, slightly fewer than the day before. Some fire crews were relieved from duty. Carlos Herrera, LA County Fire Department Public Information Officer, said officials would continue to release firefighters who have come from all over the country as well as Canada and Mexico as containment increases. But the department will remain in communication with weather experts to staff appropriately, especially in Altadena, in Mount Lowe, and Mount Wilson, some spots where we're looking on getting containment, Herrera said. We have plenty of resources. At a Sunday afternoon town hall, Cal Fire Operations Section Chief Jed Gaines echoed that sentiment, but with a hint of concern in light of the forecast for the days ahead. We're confident that this fire is going to stay within the current footprint it sits today, he said, but we're concerned if there are new starts in the area. More than 5,600 fire personnel remained attached to the Palisades fire Sunday, roughly the same number as the day before. Melanie Miller, the Palisades Incidents Public Information Officer, said crews were doing contingency planning in preparation for more wind, and we're in a waiting stage to see whether a change in action would be needed or if some resources could be released. Other regions affected by the warnings include Santa Monica and the San Gabriel Valley. Areas outside the red flag warning zone include the LA basin, such as downtown LA, Torrance and Long Beach, and coastal San Diego and Orange counties. With this being more of a traditional Santa Ana wind event, which sees winds coming out of the east to the northeast, Ventura County will be an area of great concern. In LA County, the areas of greatest concern include the western San Fernando Valley, Calabasas, Agora Hills, the western San Gabriel Mountains, and the Grapevine section of I-5. And then it's saying, residents should secure loose outdoor items such as patio furniture, adjust travel times between Monday night and Tuesday morning, charge up electronics, flashlights and battery packs, fill up your fuel tanks, all that stuff. And then this is more tips here. So gusts could be so powerful that they could knock over big rigs and motorhomes and trigger powerful outages that could last days. And on Sunday evening, county public health officials issued a windblown dust and ash advisory, warning that the expected gusts could disperse ash throughout the county and reduce air quality, particularly in areas downwind of recent burn scars. Very dry conditions are expected all week, with the driest tomorrow. Relative humidity could fall as low as 5% in the western San Fernando Valley, Santa Clarita, Oxnard, Thousand Oaks, and Fillmore areas. So that is still going on in LA. Fortunately, the Eaton fire is close to being contained, but Palisades is still not so much, 56%. Meanwhile, in Colombia, at least 80 have been killed, thousands displaced in a Colombian guerrilla violence event. It's a violence event, y'all. We will get this mouse to work one day. One day soon, we'll see. A fresh outbreak of guerrilla violence amid a faltering peace process in Colombia has left more than 80 people dead, including civilians, and displaced thousands in just 4 days, officials reported yesterday. As residents fled for their lives, the army deployed some 5,000 troops to the cocaine-growing Catatumbo region at the center of a fast-escalating territorial war. The National Liberation Army, the ELN, armed group, officials said, launched an assault in Catatumbo last Thursday on a rival formation comprised of ex-members of the now-defunct FARC guerrilla force who kept fighting after it disarmed in 2017. Civilians found themselves caught in the middle, and by Sunday it was estimated that more than 80 people have lost their lives, according to Governor William Villamizar of the Norte de Santander Department. Terrified residents carrying backpacks and belongings on overladen motorcycles, boats, or crammed on the backs of open trucks fled the region over the weekend. Hundreds found refuge in the town of Tibu, where several shelters were set up, while others crossed the border to Venezuela. For some, a return to a country from where they had fled economic and political upheaval. Venezuela announced the launch of a special operation to assist the civilian population displaced from Colombia, hundreds of families, according to the government in Caracas. Villamizar said about 24 people had been injured and some 5,000 displaced in the violence, and described the resulting humanitarian situation as alarming. He urged the fighters to create humanitarian corridors by which civilians could safely escape. The latest death toll in the restive mountainous region was 20 more than the number reported by authorities Saturday, which had included 7 ex-FARC combatants. The Ombudsman Office, a rights watchdog, cited reports of ELN rebels going from house to house, killing people suspected of ties to the FARC dissidents. It warned that peace signatories, social leaders, and their families, and even children, face a special risk of being kidnapped or killed, and said many had fled for the mountains. Army Commander Luis Emilio Cardozo said guerrilla fighters took civilians from their homes and killed them. He added the army was offering people refuge on military bases and said food was being delivered to conflict areas. Classes were suspended in the affected region and schools converted into shelters, authorities said, as Colombian Defense Minister Ivan Velasquez arrived in the city of Cucuta, some 60 miles from Tibu, to oversee a military offensive against the guerrillas. The Marxist Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, that's FARC, once the largest guerrilla force in the Western Hemisphere, disarmed under a 2016 peace deal reached after more than half a century of war. But the pact failed to extinguish the violence involving leftist guerrillas, including the ELN and FARC holdouts, right-wing paramilitaries, and drug cartels over resources and trafficking routes in some regions of the country. The ELN has in recent days also clashed with the Gulf Clan, the largest drug cartel in the world's biggest cocaine producer, leaving at least 9 dead in a different part of northern Colombia. The violence prompted President Gustavo Petro on Friday to call off negotiations initiated with the ELN in his pursuit of total peace. Good old Colombia. Get to us. Come for the cocaine, stay for the violence. There's plenty of it. So switching over to Germany, in Germany, German business leaders are planning a massive anti-government strike, according to a paper there. That's good news. We love to see strikes. Dozens of major German business associates are planning a massive joint protest action later in January to show their dissatisfaction with the federal government's economic policies, the Bild tabloid reported on Friday. The strike and protests are planned in Berlin and other German cities on January 29th, citing the leaders of several business associations. Nearly 50 business groups representing around 20 million workers are expected to participate. Major organizations joining the action include the Association of Family Entrepreneurs, the metal industry group Gesam to Metal, Cassette to metal, the metal industry. The German Hotel and Restaurant Association, the German Wholesale and Foreign Trade Association, and the Small and Medium Business Association. Several fashion industry enterprises have also said they'll take part. Some of the business leaders sharply criticized Chancellor Olaf Scholz's cabinet in a conversation with Bild. In politics, not everyone has understood how dramatic the situation is. Stefan Wolf, not to be confused with Steppenwolf, head of Gesamtmetall, told the tabloid, adding that the government is failing to grasp the seriousness of the situation. The industries had been being forced to their knees by the government's wrong framework conditions, he stated. The concerns were echoed by the president of the German Foreign Trade Association, Dirk Jandura, who pointed to a protracted recession faced by the nation. We're in the middle of the third year of the crisis with no signs of improvement. Overregulation continues unabated, he told Bild. The head of the Association of Family Entrepreneurs, Marie-Christine Osterman, called for a fundamental shift in the government's economic policies. We're fighting for an economic turnaround, she said. The upcoming 2025 federal election should be treated like a referendum on which parties and policies will provide businesses with the relief they desperately need, the association head stated. The list of demands put forward by the Business Association includes lower taxes, a halt to rising Social Security contributions, and fewer regulations and laws that businesses say are stifling growth. The planned strike comes as Germany grapples with a significant economic downturn. In 2024, the country's gross domestic product shrank by 0.2%, following a 0.3% contraction in 2023, according to a report published by the country's federal stats office, Die Status, this week. The prolonged manufacturing slowdown, combined with rising energy costs due to the shift from Russian gas to more expensive liquefied natural gas from the U.S., has severely impacted businesses, especially in energy-intensive industries. The protest comes less than a month before the snap parliamentary election scheduled for February 23rd. So, yep. And then we're talking about small businesses. We're not talking about like the giant corporations that are seeking this relief. These are the small businesses. I don't know. You may remember last year we had talked about, probably one of the first stories we had talked about was in India about a doctor getting murdered there, and the nation just went apeshit over it. So a UK teenager has pled guilty to killing 3 girls in the Southport knife attack. A British teenager has pleaded guilty to charges of murdering 3 young girls in a knife attack in the northern United Kingdom in July, a crime that horrified the nation and was followed by days of nationwide rioting. Axel Ruda Cubana, 18, changed his pleas from not guilty to guilty on what was due to be the first day of his trial at the Liverpool Crown Court on Monday. He pleaded guilty to the murder of B.B. King, not B.B., Bebe King, 6, Elsie Stancombe, 7, and Alice De Silva Aguiar, 9, who were at a Taylor Swift-themed dance event in Southport town on July 29, 2024. 10 others were wounded, including 8 children, in one of the country's worst mass stabbings in years. Come on. Ruda Cabana also pleaded guilty to 10 charges of attempted murder relating to the attack, as well as producing the deadly poison ricin and the possession of an Al-Qaeda training manual. It's always nice they have those training manuals with them. Judge Julian Goose said he would sentence Ruda Cabana on Thursday and that a life jail term was inevitable. Wearing a gray tracksuit and a surgical mask, the teenager refused to stand in court and did not speak except to say the word guilty. In December, not guilty pleas had been entered on Ruda Cabana's behalf when he refused to speak in court, and the case had been set for a 4-week trial. Ruda Cabana was born in Wales to parents of Rwandan origin. He lived in Banks, a village northeast of Southport. In the wake of the murders, large disturbances broke out in Southport after false reports spread on social media that the suspected killer was a Muslim migrant. Those disturbances spread across the UK with attacks on mosques and hotels housing asylum seekers, with Prime Minister Keir Starmer blaming the riots on far-right thuggery. More than 1,500 people were arrested. The UK's Interior Minister Yvette Cooper said on Monday the coming days will be a deeply traumatic and distressing time for the girls' families. But she said it was important for the legal process to be allowed to carry on so that justice can be done. Yeah, so now the kid, and one of these far-right cult leaders was saying, it's Muslims, it's Muslims attacking, and it was some foreigner, and it was the guy that lived there. Finally, we get a ceasefire that everybody's been clamoring for in Israel. But part of the ceasefire is one of the parties is Israel. And as we all know, Israel doesn't stick to anything. Its diets, its word, and particularly its ceasefires. Gaza ceasefire takes effect after deadly 3-hour delay. So this was on Saturday. Into Sunday. Israeli forces killed at least 19 Palestinians across the Gaza Strip on Sunday morning during a 3-hour delay in implementing a ceasefire and hostage release deal that Israel's cabinet finally approved the previous day. After over 15 months of a U.S.-backed military assault for which Israel faces a genocide case at the ICJ, Israel Defense Forces strikes on Gaza were set to stop at 8:30 a.m. local time due to a 3-phase agreement negotiated by Egypt, Qatar, and the outgoing Biden and incoming Trump administrations. Why is that so giant? Okay, there we go. They did not, with deadly results. Mahmoud Basal, a spokesperson for Gaza's civil defense, said Sunday that at least 19 people were killed and over 36 were injured from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. local time. That's on top of the tens of thousands of people the Israeli assault and restrictions on humanitarian aid have killed since the Hamas-led October 7th attack on Israel. As of midnight Saturday, the Gaza Ministry of Health put the official death toll in Palestine at almost 47,000, with another 110,000 plus people injured and over 10,000 missing in the rubble of former homes, hospitals, schools, and mosques. So at 9:17 a.m. on Sunday, the IDF said that it was continuing to operate and strike terrorist targets in Gaza, adding, a short while ago, IDF artillery and aircraft struck a number of terrorist targets in northern and central Gaza. The IDF remains ready in offense and defense, mostly offense, and will not allow any harm to the citizens of Israel. Mohammed Shahada, a Gazan writer, called the delay a last-minute trick by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and explained on social media that it was under the pretext that Hamas hadn't submitted the list of 3 captives it'll release today. As Shahada detailed, Israel also reneged on the arrangement needed for Hamas to be able to submit such lists, suspending surveillance drones and bombardment in the hours preceding the ceasefire, so that it becomes logistically possible for Hamas's members on the ground and abroad to contact each other and figure out which hostages are alive and where without compromising their whereabouts and risking being bombed or raided by the IDF. Hamas was forced to submit the list under fire and spy drones, which meant Israel exploited this to try to locate and snatch some captives last minute. Israel now succeeded in reaching the body of soldier Oren Shal, whom Hamas had been holding captive since 2014. Ultimately, Hamas submitted the list and the pause in fighting took effect, at least for now, enabling displaced Palestinians to start returning to what is left of their communities, and the process of releasing captives to begin with 3 Israelis and 90 Palestinians. We'll talk about that in a second. During the deal's first 42-day phase, there are plans to free 33 Israelis taken hostage by Palestinian militants, 737 Palestinians imprisoned in Israel, and 1,167 Palestinians detained by Israeli forces in Gaza. The 3 Israeli hostages, Emily Damari, Romy Gonen, and Doron Steinbrecher, were transferred to the International Committee of the Red Cross at a square in central Gaza. The IDF confirmed that the Red Cross was bringing the women to Israeli troops. The AP on Sunday obtained from Hamas a list of the first 90 Palestinian prisoners set to be freed. And let's just go ahead and get to that right now. So dozens of Palestinian women, teens freed from Israeli jails as part of the Gaza ceasefire. Let's bring this up a little bit. All right. So after several hours of delay following the handover of 3 Israeli captives by Hamas's Qassam brigades, 90 Palestinian prisoners, all females and minors, were released from Israeli jails early on today as part of the first phase of the ceasefire and exchange deal. The Palestinians were released from Offer prison in the occupied West Bank and Moscovia prison in Jerusalem, as well as the Dearman prison. Those from Offer were dropped off by Red Cross buses at Beatunia, north of Ramallah, where their families received them, and those from Moscovia went straight to their neighborhoods in occupied Jerusalem. Among the prisoners were Albla Sadat, wife of the Secretary General of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the PFLP, Ahmad Sadat. She was detained in September last year. PFLP member Khalida Jarrar was also released. Jarrar had been in and out of Israeli prisons for several years and was detained for the 5th and final time in December 2023 after the start of the war in Gaza. What's up, Jacqueline? Good to see you. Hey, Fred. Good to see you as well. She was held in solitary confinement for the last 6 months of her detention despite suffering from serious medical issues, including deep vein thrombosis. Jarrar was in a state of exhaustion upon her release and was not able to speak to the media. Palestinian journalist and prisoner activist Bushra al-Tawil was also among those released. She has been incarcerated 7 times. Rose Kouis, an 18-year-old who was also freed, told Reuters inmates were treated like animals where she was imprisoned. The occupation forces were cursing us and treating us badly during the release. The occupation authorities contacted our families and warned them against any manifestations of joy, Janine Amro told Al Jazeera upon being discharged. The next 6 weeks are meant to see the release of 2,000 Palestinians. Israel will discharge 30 to 50 prisoners for each captive released by Hamas. The first phase of the deal, which was announced last week, is supposed to see the release of 33 Israeli captives being held in Gaza. Negotiations for the second phase will begin 16 days into phase 1. 3 Israeli captives were handed over to the Red Cross in Gaza on Saturday. Huge crowds of Palestinians, along with a strong presence of Qassam Brigade's fighters, gathered in Gaza City's Al-Saraya Square as the 3 female Israeli captives were released and given over to the Red Cross. The captives were retrieved by the Israeli army at the Reem base outside Gaza. Those first 3 Israeli captives were handed over as the ceasefire deal for Gaza took effect. So these are the 3 again. Romy Gonen, 24, Emily Damari, 28, and 31-year-old Doron Steinbrecher were handed over to the Red Cross and are in safe hands. The Red Cross vehicles took off from Gaza City in the heavily besieged northern part of the enclave after Hamas brought the captives to As-Saraya Square, like we said before. I'm trying to see if there's more information here about those 3. And it does, so this is the first of a few phases. So they're not doing all of this at once as Hamas releases an Israeli. Then they're supposed to release 30 to 50 Palestinians. So that part seems to be going along so far, but right now, they're worried about the people in Gaza, and one of the things is getting aid in there. So the first post-ceasefire aid trucks have entered Gaza. Trucks carrying humanitarian... Come on, please. Trucks carrying humanitarian aid entered the Gaza Strip Sunday after a long-awaited truce between Israel and Hamas came into effect. First trucks of supplies started entering minutes after the ceasefire took effect Sunday morning. UN aid official Jonathan Whittall, interim chief of the UN's OCHA aid agency for the Palestinian territory, said on the tweeters, a massive effort has been underway over the past days from humanitarian partners to load and prepare to distribute a surge of aid across all of Gaza. An Egyptian source speaking on condition of anonymity said 260 trucks of aid and 16 of fuel moved into the Israeli-controlled Kerem Shalom crossing between Israel and Gaza and the Nitzana crossing between Egypt and Israel before entering Gaza. On Saturday, Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelhadi, whose country mediated the deal along with Qatar and the U.S., said it provides for the entry of 600 trucks per day to the Strip, including 50 trucks of fuel. Most notably, the hospitals that are still up and running, if there's any of those left, they need the fuel as well. On Sunday, AFP journalists saw hundreds of trucks carrying aid at the Rafah border crossing and around El Arish, 31 miles to the west. What is going on here? The vehicles were waiting to proceed to the Israeli crossings with Egypt at Kerem Shalom and Nitzana for screening before being allowed into Gaza. Some trucks returned empty after offloading their cargo, and around a dozen ambulances were also seen driving out of the main Rafah gate. The Rafah crossing, previously a vital entry point for aid, has been closed since May when Israeli forces seized it on the Palestinian side. Palestinian Red Crescent spokesperson Nabal Farsak told AFP Sunday that the Israeli authorities control the process of receiving aid, adding that the mechanisms for receiving these trucks and the crossings points through which they will enter remain unclear. Humanitarian workers have warned of the monumental challenges that could impede aid operations, including the destruction of infrastructure that previously processed shipments. They blew up everything, so they have to kind of start from scratch again. Sunday's truce comes after more than 15 months of war sparked by the Hamas attack. It follows a deal brokered by 3 international mediators. It comes on the eve of Donald Trump's inauguration as U.S. president, which he should already have taken the thing by now. By December 1st, nearly 69% of the Palestinian Authority's buildings had been destroyed or damaged in the conflict. Nearly all of Gaza's 2.4 million people have been displaced at least once. The start of Sunday's truce saw many of them begin heading to their home areas through an apocalyptic landscape piled with rubble and destroyed buildings. So now the ceasefire is over. These people are trying to get back to their homes, and their homes are no longer there. What's up, Frank? Good to see you. Hopefully you're doing well. I hope you're staying warm over there. It's chilly willy over here too, man. It is cold as ice. And we willing to sacrifice our love. Do. Meanwhile, it's going to take a shit ton of cash to rebuild Gaza. Estimated $10 billion required to rebuild Gaza's health system. In the grand scheme, if we're giving Israel billions of dollars, I guess it's really not that much in comparison. Initial estimates indicate that at least $10 billion will be needed to rebuild Gaza's devastated health system over the next 5 to 7 years. That's according to the World Health Organization. There are processes currently ongoing by the World Bank, EU, and UN and governments to do these assessments on each and every sector, which is still ongoing, said Rick Peeperkorn. That's not a real name, Peeperkorn. The WHO's representative in the occupied Palestinian territories in a virtual press conference. Peeperkorn, that's not a real name. Come on, let's go. Peeperkorn explained that early figures for the health sector were about $3 billion over the next 1.5 3 billion over the next 1.5 years, and over the next 6 to 7 years only for health, something like 10 billion. Emphasizing that the massive destruction in Gaza, he said, I've never witnessed and never seen that anywhere else in my life. All hospitals are either damaged or partly destroyed, and the same applies to primary healthcare clinics as well, he stated. Peppercorn said the WHO will remain very pragmatic in what we do, adding that the focus over the coming period should remain very much on humanitarian support, also on health. An analysis by the UN Satellite Center last October revealed that around 66% of the total structures in the besieged Gaza Strip sustained damage in Israel's ongoing military assault on the enclave. Those 66% of damaged buildings in the Gaza Strip account for 163,778 structures in total, the organization said. Shit, that's a lot. This includes 52,564 structures that have been destroyed, almost 19,000 severely damaged, and 35,591 possibly damaged structures, and 56,710 moderately affected. Also speaking at the press conference, WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said the ceasefire agreement, which comes into effect yesterday, marks the end of the darkest chapter in the history of the relationship between the Israelis and the Palestinians. I don't know, man. The Nakba is pretty bad, too. He said the rebuilding of Gaza's health system will be a massive undertaking, as less than half of Gaza's hospitals are functional. Qatar announced a ceasefire agreement on Wednesday. You know the rest there. And then it just goes on to the death toll, almost being 47,000 at this point, and millions displaced. So, but at least the Gaza is getting some help in there now, while all eyes are watching. And that's the thing. We're very like dogs. We see squirrel, and then our attention gets taken somewhere else, and then that's where all the fuckery happens. And so with all this ceasefire, of course, some Israelis are going to be little bitches about it. Israeli Minister Ben-Gvir's party quits Israeli government as Gaza ceasefire begins. Yay! Or does it really matter? Probably not. The far-right Jewish Strength party, the Otzma Yehudit party of National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, resigned from the Israeli government on Sunday as a Gaza ceasefire agreement took effect. Ben-Gvir and other ministers from his party submitted their resignation letters to Prime Minister Shithead, according to Haaretz. From this time onwards, the Otzma Yehudit party is not a member of the coalition, the party said in some bullshit statement that nobody gives a shit about except for Israelis. It attributed the resignations to the government's decision to approve the Gaza ceasefire agreement and the release of hundreds of Palestinians from Israeli jails. After Ben-Gvir's party withdrawal, the ruling coalition still survives with 62 parliamentary seats in the 120-seat Knesset, which is a little over half. On Saturday, 24 ministers in the government approved the Gaza ceasefire and prisoner exchange agreement, while 8 rejected it. The ceasefire agreement took effect at 11:15 a.m. local time on Sunday after a few hours delay due to Israeli accusations for Hamas of delaying the release of a list of captives to be released. It was originally scheduled for 8:30, but of course, boom, boom, boom. They like to blow up people. So you can say goodbye to this guy from the government. Now he's sucking somebody else's dick. I don't know how that works. I don't really care. When you're killing kids, I don't really care how your fucking government works. You're all a bunch of shitheads. So what about Yemen? You know, Yemen has been in the mix, backing their pals in Gaza. And then so far they've been true to their word. What's up, Mariana? Good to see you. Yemen scales back Red Sea ops, vows full stop after all phases of Gaza ceasefire implemented. So the Yemeni Armed Forces, the YAF, which is merged with the Ansar Allah Resistance Movement, said yesterday that it's planning to scale back its maritime operations, coinciding with the start of a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. The YAF made the statement in an email sent to global shippers via its Humanitarian Operations Coordination Center. It said it would limit its attacks to only Israeli-linked vessels, saying it was stopping sanctions on the other ships it has targeted since November 2023, which included those en route to Israeli ports. The Yemeni army began attacking U.S. warships as well in January last year in response to the start of Washington and London's violent campaign against Yemen, which has since escalated and is now being carried out with Israeli participation. Yemen has also targeted several U.S. aircraft carriers, including the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Harry Truman. Regarding its attacks on Israeli-flagged or Israeli-owned ships, these operations will only be stopped upon the full implementation of all phases of the ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. In the event of any aggression, the sanctions will be reinstated against the aggressor state. You will be promptly informed of such measures should they be implemented, the YAF added. It's like, oh, so you've decided to continue your fuckery. Okay, so we will continue to help you find out. That's from the YAF. The YAF has attacked over 100 commercial vessels, either directly or indirectly linked to Israel. In November 2023, it managed to seize the Israeli-linked Galaxy Leader. Its crew members are still in Yemen. Aside from maritime operations, Ansarallah and the Yemeni army have also carried out numerous direct drone and missile strikes on Tel Aviv and elsewhere in Israel, prompting violent Israeli attacks against Sana'a, the capital. Several areas of Yemen came under a heavy tripartite attack launched by the U.S., UK, and Israel on January 10th, which included strikes on an area in the capital where a massive civilian demonstration was commencing. According to Al Akbar newspaper, there are no American-Israeli intentions to stop the aggression against Yemen after the cessation of the war in Gaza. The Yemeni army began its operations after the start of the genocidal war on Gaza and vowed repeatedly that it would not stop until the war in the Strip was brought to an end. So Yemen's saying, we're keeping an eye on things. We're keeping an eye on things, but fuck up, and here we'll be back. We'll come to kick your ass. That's what Yemen said. Meanwhile, in Iran, 2 judges have been shot dead at Iran's Supreme Court. What's going on there? 2 judges were killed in a shooting attack on Saturday at the Supreme Court building in Tehran. 3 judges of the Supreme Court were targeted. 2 of them were martyred, the judiciary's Mizan online website reported, adding that the assailant killed himself. State news agency IRNA also reported that 1 other person was injured in the attack. Mizan identified the 2 slain judges as Ali Razini and Mohammed Moghasey, adding that they worked on cases fighting crimes against national security, espionage, and terrorism. The motive behind their killing was not immediately clear, but Mizan said the assailant was not involved in any cases before the Supreme Court without providing further details on the attacker's identity. Authorities said an investigation into the incident was launched. Razani held several important positions in Iran's judiciary and was previously targeted in a 1998 assassination attempt by assailants who planted a magnetic bomb in his vehicle, according to Mizan. Yikes. They were not liked. Though attacks targeting judges are rare, Iran has seen a number of shootings targeting high-profile figures over the past years. In October, a Muslim preacher was shot dead in the southern city of Kazaroun after leading Friday prayers. In April 2023, a powerful cleric identified as Abbas Ali Soleimani was also shot dead at a bank in the northern province of Mazandaran. And in August 2005, renowned Iranian judge Hassan Moghadis was murdered by 2 gunmen who climbed into his car in the middle of a busy business district in Tehran. 2 men convicted over his killing were publicly executed by hanging 2 years later. Yeah. And in India, the court finds a man guilty in a notorious hospital rape case that we were talking about last year. An Indian court on Saturday found a 33-year-old man guilty for the rape and murder of a doctor, a crime that sparked nationwide protests and hospital strikes last year. The discovery of the victim's bloody body at a government hospital in Kolkata last August once again highlighted the chronic issue of violence against women in the world's most populous country. It led to demands by doctors at government hospitals for additional security, with thousands of citizens in Kolkata and elsewhere in India joining the doctors' protests in solidarity. The trial of defendant Sanjoy Roy was fast-tracked through India's normally glacial legal system, and arguments in the case concluded a little over a week ago. The sentence will be delivered on Monday, presiding Judge Anirban Das said after finding Roy, a civic volunteer in the hospital, guilty of rape and murder. Roy has consistently maintained his innocence and again told the court that he was not guilty. "I've been framed," he said. Roy was brought to court by a prison van and greeted by a crowd of protesters held at bay by police officers demanding he be given the death penalty. Hang him, they chanted. Yeah, it sounds like America. The sentiment was echoed by the victim's family, none of whom have been identified, in keeping with Indian law around the reporting of sexual violence cases. "The common man will lose faith in the judiciary if he has not handed down the death penalty," the victim's mother, seated just a few meters from Roy, said when the verdict was read out. Her father added, "He brutally snuffed out the life of our daughter. He deserves the same fate." The trainee doctor was found raped and murdered in a seminar room of the hospital last year. The crime led to nationwide outrage and prolonged protests by doctors across the state demanding justice for the victim and stronger security measures in government hospitals. Roy was arrested a day after the victim's body was discovered. India's Supreme Court set up a national task force after the protests that suggested ways to enhance safety measures in the government hospitals. The victim's father at one of the protest marches in October told AFP that his family was devastated. "My daughter's soul will not rest in peace until she gets justice," he said. The gruesome nature of the attack drew comparisons with the 2012 gang rape and murder of a young woman on a Delhi bus, which also sparked weeks of nationwide protests. So it seems like a lot of these people are starting to get justice, which is all well and good, but we wish we could get some justice here in America too. So apparently this Kumbh Mela gathering is one of the world's biggest to get people together. So one reason for me to stay away, for sure. Excuse me. Ooh. As India uses AI to stop stampedes at the world's biggest gathering, Kumbh Mela. This is insane that this number of people get together. Keen to improve India's abysmal crowd management record at large-scale religious events, organizers of the world's largest human gathering are using artificial intelligence to try to prevent stampedes. Organizers predict up to 400 million pilgrims will visit the Kumbh Mela, a millennial-old sacred show of Hindu piety and ritual bathing that began Monday and runs for 6 weeks. 400 million people. Oh, that's too many people. Deadly crowd crushes are a notorious feature of Indian religious festivals, and the Kumbh Mela, with its unfathomable throngs of devotees, has a grim track record of stampedes. "We want everyone to go back home happily after having fulfilled their spiritual duties," Amit Kumar, a senior police officer heading tech operations in the festival, said. "AI is helping us avoid reaching that critical mass in sensitive places." More than 400 people died after being trampled or drowned at the Kumbh Mela on a single day of the festival in 1954, one of the largest tolls in a crowd-related disaster globally. Another 36 people were crushed to death in 2013, the last time the festival was staged in the northern city of Prayagraj. But this time, authorities say the technology they have deployed will help them gather accurate estimates of crowd sizes, allowing them to be better prepared for potential trouble. Maybe we'll see Police say they have installed around 300 cameras at the festival site and on roads leading to the sprawling encampment, mounted on poles, and a fleet of overhead drones. Not far from the spiritual center of the festival at the confluence of the Ganges and Yamuna rivers, the network is overseen in a glass-paneled command and control room by a small army of police officers and technicians. We can look at the entire Kumbh Mela from here, said Kumar. There are camera angles where we cannot even see complete bodies. We have to count using heads or torsos. Kumar said the footage fed into an AI algorithm that gives its handlers an overall estimate of a crowd stretching for miles in every direction, cross-checked against data from railways and bus operators. We're using AI to track people flows, crowd density at various inlets, adding them up and then interpolating from there, he added. The system sounds the alarm if sections of the crowd get so concentrated that they pose a safety threat. I guess we can read the rest of this. The Kumbh Mela is rooted in Hindu mythology, a battle between deities and demons for control of a pitcher containing the nectar of immortality. Delicious. Organizers say the scale of this year's festival is that of a temporary country, with numbers expected to total around the combined populations of the United States and Canada. That's right. In one spot. You'd like to see all Americans and Canadians come to one spot. That would be crazy. Some 6 million devotees took a dip in the river on the first morning of the festival. With a congregation that size, Kumar said that some degree of crowd crush is inevitable. The personal bubble of an individual is quite big in the West, said Kumar, explaining how the critical threshold at which AI crowd control systems ring the alarm is higher than in other countries using similar crowd management systems. The standard there is 3 people per square foot, he added, but we can afford to go several times higher than that. Organizers have been eager to tout the technological advancements of this year's edition of the Kumbh Mela and their attendant benefits for pilgrims. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, a devout Hindu monk whose government is responsible for organizing the festival, has described it as an event at the confluence of faith and modernity. The fact that there are cameras and drones make us feel safe, 28-year-old automotive engineer Harshit Yoshi, it says Harshit, that's what it says, one of the millions of pilgrims to arrive for the start of the festival. I don't know about that, man. That is way too many fucking people. 440 million people for a festival, right? Crocus, yeah, I can understand that, but yeah. It is. Any surveillance state, no matter its intention, is inherently evil like that. So we got to peep. If you got to peek on them, chances are it's not good. Several have been killed in Nigeria as a tanker truck blast kills at least 86 people there. The death toll from the explosion of a petrol tanker truck in Nigeria that killed people rushing to gather fuel has risen to 86. The final death toll from the tanker explosion is 86, said Ibrahim Adu Husseini, spokesman for the National Emergency Management Agency in Niger State. The truck carrying 60,000 liters of gasoline exploded after flipping over a road in the center of the country on Saturday, authorities have said. And a lot of these we've been talking about a lot of these like fuel explosions and stuff too, people coming after them. Meanwhile, Africa's most populous country has become a BRICS partner. Though I think we reported on this that they were about to, but now it's official. So Nigeria has officially joined the economic bloc as its 9th partner state, Brazil has announced. So Nigeria is Africa's 4th largest economy and the world's 6th most populous nation, with over 228 million people, has been formally welcomed into the broader group of BRICS partner states, according to Brazil, the bloc's current rotating president. Foreign Ministry of Brazil announced on Friday that Nigeria has become the 9th official BRICS partner, joining Belarus, can you do the fandango? Bolivia, Cuba, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Thailand, Uganda, and Uzbekistan. In exercising its pro tempore presidency of BRICS, the Brazilian government announces today, January 17th, the formal admission of Nigeria as a partner country of the grouping, the ministry stated. The Brazilian government praised Nigeria for its convergent interests with other members of BRICS and its active role in strengthening South-South cooperation and in reforming global governance. BRICS was established in 2009 by Brazil, Russia, India, and China, with South Africa joining in 2011. And it just talks about some of the expansions there. And people say, well, BRICS is not going to be the end-all, be-all. And it's not. It's just another economic system to go along with that of the dollar. So, I like to have a wait-and-see attitude when it comes to BRICS and whether there's going to be military agreements that come out of it as well. And that's when they're not fucking around. So a Polish general has been fired after anti-tank mines were found in an IKEA warehouse. See, they call it the Polish mines. Their IKEA name is Kugelschmugel, and they had way too many Kugelschmugels. A Polish general was dismissed last week by the nation's defense minister after reportedly misplacing a batch of anti-tank mines that were later found in an IKEA warehouse, according to Polish news outlet Onet. Major General Artur Kepczynski was fired January 9th for reasons that were not specified by Polish military officials, though numerous local reports suggested the missing explosives were naturally the catalyst for his dismissal. Yeah, we're not really liking what you're doing here at the company, and oh yeah, why did you leave those mines at IKEA? In June 2024, a train carrying more than 1,000 tons of explosives was improperly unloaded by Polish troops, the report said, who mistakenly left the anti-tank mines to continue their rail-bound journey around the country until they were eventually offloaded in the furniture behemoth's warehouse. Kepczynski, meanwhile, reportedly kept the mishap from his superiors while furnishing subsequent supply reports that featured false numbers. That approach appeared to have worked, at least until an IKEA warehouse representative telephoned military officials and inquired about when they would collect their mines, according to one report. Come get your shit. The Polish Defense Ministry posted on the tweeters confirming the dismissal of Kepczynski, who was reportedly a lead figure, or maybe a lead figure, in the service's logistics support element. An investigation into the incident is ongoing, the report said. Though the story is indeed eccentric, IKEA, which was once exposed for using horse meat in over a dozen countries to craft their delectable Swedish meatballs, is no stranger to outlandish episodes. The furniture store's cavernous confines, surpassed only by Moria when it comes to mine hosting capability, has played host to all manner of stranger-than-fiction tales. The jokes. In 2012, for instance, a Japanese macaw monkey named Darwin escaped his Ontario-based owner's crate and was later seen gallivanting through an IKEA store wearing a sheepskin coat and diaper. The following year, New Jersey-based couple Rashid Smith and Shirley Stewart were married in the same IKEA where they'd met 8 years prior. It's a Jersey thing. And who could forget the 12-year-old Peng Yijian of China, who in 2014 ran away and hid for 6 days in a Shanghai IKEA before he was found by local police. Classic Peng. Whether Kepczynski will face further punishment remains to be seen, though the sheer humiliation of the ordeal may offer retribution enough. It is, after all, an incident come to life out of every veteran's nightmares, those unique post-service cerebral tics that yield, here I am deployed to combat, but I've forgotten my rifle terrors. And I've also left my mines at IKEA when I went there for the rib menu. Sometimes they usually have a rib platter on Wednesday night, so it's actually pretty good. Finally, in our news blog today, protesters stormed South Korea court after president's detention extended. So yeah, you know what's going on there. He declared martial law. People said, what the fuck's wrong with you? We're going to arrest you. And he's like, nope. So he hid out for a while in his house. They finally got him, and here we are. Supporters of South Korean President Yoon Suk Yeol, he's Yoon Suk Yeol, stormed a Seoul court Sunday after a judge extended the impeached leader's detention over his ill-fated attempt to impose martial law. Yoon said he was deeply shocked and saddened by the pre-dawn attack on the court where his supporters smashed windows and doors. Tens of thousands of people had gathered outside the Seoul Western District Court in a show of support Saturday for the president, who became South Korea's first sitting head of state to be arrested in a dawn raid this week. AFP journalists saw hundreds of police officers charge into the court, with the force arresting dozens and denouncing an intolerable, illegal, and violent incident. The incident is the latest episode in South Korea's spiraling political crisis, which erupted on December 3rd when Yoon declared martial law and dispatched troops to parliament. His attempt to suspend civilian rule lasted just 6 hours after lawmakers defied soldiers to vote it down. They later impeached the president, suspending him from duty. Yoon vowed Sunday to persist, no matter how long it takes, in rectifying any injustices, despite facing a constitutional court ruling on his impeachment and the criminal probe, that has seen him detained. In announcing investigators could hold Yoon for a further 20 days, the Seoul court told AFP there were concerns he could destroy evidence if released. The president said he would attempt to show the purpose and legitimacy of the martial law declaration in a statement issued Sunday through his lawyers. His backers have claimed Yoon's decision was justified due to election fraud in legislative polls won last year by the opposition, for which they present no evidence. They frequently wave American flags and have adopted the Stop the Steal rhetoric associated with Trump, whose supporters stormed Washington's Capitol to try to overturn his earlier election defeat, or to just take pictures and act like tourists, which is mostly what happened. Acting Police Chief Lee Ho-young said the force would thoroughly investigate right-wing YouTubers if they were involved in this violent break-in after the attack was live-streamed. After the attack on the court, Yoon said he saw the deep frustration and anger of many citizens. His lawyer, Seok Dong-hyun, slammed the judge's decision while also warning the president's supporters not to escalate the situation. Such violence could also create burdens for the president's future trials, the lawyer said in a statement. Yoo Jung-hoon, a lawyer and political columnist, said attacking a court was unprecedented in South Korea and those involved would likely face jail time. Unprecedented? These are unprecedented times, buddy. Everybody's doing the crazy shit now. The judge was expected to keep the president in prison given the myriad of evidence supporting the insurrection charges, Yoo told AFP. The court also placed significant weight on Yoon's attempts to destroy evidence as head of state, he added, with Yoon back behind bars after his court appearance on Saturday. Prosecutors are due to formalize a criminal indictment for insurrection. The disgraced leader, who has said he does not accept the legality of the probe, could be jailed for life or executed if found guilty. He refused to attend questioning Sunday, said the Corruption Investigation Office, which plans to summon him again today. Yoon has meanwhile been absent from the parallel probe at the Constitutional Court, which is considering whether to uphold his impeachment. If that court rules against him, Yoon will formally lose the presidency and elections will be called within 60 days. And that will be it. So those were not IKEA build-at-home landmine kits. No, don't buy those, Fred, and don't tell your friends to buy them either, because they're not selling them. At least I don't think so. They might be. Who knows, man? Everybody wants to make a buck these days, right? So, today we have officially it's President Trump again. Biden is former president, and what is his legacy on social media? Well, let's just say it's not very good. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
The sharing of biased and false
News has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same things that are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
By Genocide Joe, social media reflects on Biden's legacy on Gaza. As Joseph Biden's U.S. presidency comes to an end, many on social media this week are saying that his legacy boils down to one thing: his active role in Israel's 15-month war on Gaza, which has been widely defined as a genocide by human rights organizations, international bodies, and scholars. Basically everybody with a brain in their head that knows what a fucking genocide looks like. Hey, what's up, Willie? Good to see you, my man. What you got here? Thank you for that. In the last 4 years, we saw how Biden sucked, and now we're about to see how Trump sucks. Massa, or Make America Suck Again, or KAS, or Keep America Sucking. Yeah, exactly. I know, right? Come meet the new boss, same as the old boss, literally. So his last day was also the first day of the Israeli-Hamas ceasefire deal that was reportedly pushed to the finish line by Trump through his mediaries, though Biden and Trump both took credit for the deal. This has raised more significant criticism of Biden's role in Israel's bombing campaign on Gaza, with the U.S. providing $17.9 billion in military aid since October 2023. His unfaltering support for Israel led to the infamous nickname given by pro-Palestinians and social media users, Genocide Joe. It fits. Everything that's happening now with the ceasefire negotiations is only further revealing how Biden could have stopped this genocide from day one by exerting proper pressure and refusing to send bombs and billions of dollars unconditionally. Palestinian-American Imam Dr. Omar Suleiman wrote on the tweeters, "Your legacy is genocide." And that's true. He could have stopped this long ago. Didn't do it. Still hadn't done it, really. In an interview covering the last 4 years, Biden spoke about his first conversation with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after the attack on Israel, saying that he told Netanyahu he can't be carpet bombing these communities, to which Netanyahu pointed his finger back at the U.S. for carpet bombing areas during World War II. Many responded to the interview online, saying that they saw this as an admission of Biden knowing he was funding what international courts are calling war crimes. So a common sentiment that has been echoed online is that Biden may have a legacy that is just as stained as that of George W. Bush, whose war on Iraq caused a reported death toll of 1 million Iraqis. Yeah, I'd say so. The difference is more women and children probably were killed this time around. The Biden administration's foreign policy legacy will likely stand as one of the worst in decades, in competition with George W. Bush, for making the world a more dangerous place for both American interests and American values. I mean, you could throw Obama into the mix there too. He bombed more people than anybody. While the majority of the discourse online is focused on Biden and Gaza, some have pointed out the achievements he's had domestically in COVID relief and dropping the unemployment rate. Well, the unemployment rate, people just stopped, declaring they were looking for work. That's always, those job numbers are always misleading like that. A post on the tweeters that has been repeatedly circulated through the last 15 months is Palestinian academic Rifat al-Arir's last post before an Israeli strike killed him, in which he said the Democratic Party and Biden are responsible for the Gaza genocide perpetrated by Israel. Yep, you fund it, you bought it. I hope the ghost of every Palestinian you killed with personal glee haunts you for the rest of your life and follows you into your grave, journalist Sana Saeed posted on the tweeters. Blinken and Biden, the butchers of Palestine, there is no other legacy for you and your entire administration. Exactly. And I'm pretty sure that's not what old Sleepy Joe wanted to be remembered for, was genocide, but that's exactly what he's going to be remembered for. That's his legacy. Sorry. You don't get to be president and then not take the blame for shit that you did. So meanwhile, the Palestinian Authority is turning out to be very good pals with Israel. as the the PA reportedly arrests Al Jazeera journalist covering prisoner exchange. This is just like recently. A prominent Al Jazeera journalist was detained by the Palestinian Authority while covering the first day of the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, according to local media. Quds Network reported that Gavara Bouderi and her camera person were arrested on Sunday evening while producing a report awaiting the release of Palestinian detainees due to be freed in a prisoner exchange deal. The two were taken to the Palestinian Preventive Security's Bayatunia police headquarters near Ramallah. Moments before, Bouderi reported live for Al Jazeera Arabic outside Israel's Offer prison in the occupied West Bank. She'd been monitoring preparations for the release of 90 Palestinian prisoners, 69 of whom were expected to be women and 21 children. In a post on Tweeters, Al Jazeera Arabic wrote, Palestinian police prevent colleague Gavara Bouderi from continuing to cover the release of female prisoners from Israeli occupation prisons. According to the truce agreement, the first phase, which will last 6 weeks, will involve the exchange of 33 Israeli captives and around 1,800 Palestinian prisoners and a return to sustainable calm. And then on Sunday, Hamas released those 3 Israelis. And then, let's see. The Democratic Press Conference, a Palestinian journalists union, has condemned the PA's arrest of Al Jazeera journalist Bouderi and her camera person. These practices constitute a clear violation of the freedom of the press and media guaranteed by law, it said. This behavior is completely unacceptable, especially in light of a major national event represented by the release of female prisoners from Israeli occupation prisons. We call for respecting the rights of journalists, protecting them, and stopping all violations against them. Earlier this month, the PA suspended the broadcasting of Al Jazeera TV in the West Bank, some of which the authority administers, after accusing the news service of publishing inciting materials. And that was one thing, the Palestinian Authority really is just like the dog for Israel, kind of doing its bidding for them. So in London, the Metropolitan Police have arrested organizers of the National Gaza rally there. Come on. The London Metropolitan Police arrested one of the organizers of the pro-Palestinian rally on Saturday in central London after imposing restrictions banning protesters from marching towards the headquarters of the BBC. Oh, what makes them so special? Organizers denied claims made by the Met that protesters had forced their way through a police cordon to march towards the BBC after ending their protest in Whitehall. The police said 77 arrests were made during Saturday's protests, which organizers estimated drew 100,000 people. Among those arrested was Chris Nineham, the vice chair of the Stop the War Coalition, who served as the chief steward for the national protest for Palestine. Footage taken by Middle East Eye showed police officers in riot gear surrounding Nineham and bundling him into the back of a police van after a small group of protesters left Whitehall to lay flowers in Trafalgar Square in commemoration of the deaths of the Palestinian children. Crowds could be heard shouting, "Shame on you," and "Free, free Palestine" at the police as they detained Nineham. The Met said it was launching an investigation and claimed there was a coordinated effort led by the protest organizers to march out of Whitehall in a clear breach of the conditions. There is video footage of one of the organizers clearly inciting the crowd to join a march, and one of the organizations involved has released a statement this evening confirming as much, said Commander Adam Slonecki, who led the policing operation. At the same time as the group was attempting to force its way past police lines, camera crews were seen arriving in Portland Place. It's unlikely that the timing was simply a coinky-dink. Tensions ran high on Saturday after the police attempted to impose last-minute restrictions on the protest despite organizers approving the route with the police months in advance. Last-minute fuckery. A coalition of advocacy groups, which includes the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, the Muslim Association of Britain, The Palestinian Forum in Britain, the Stop the War Coalition, and Friends of Al-Aqsa publicly announced the march's original route on November 30th. Key restrictions imposed by the police included a ban on beginning the march outside the BBC, citing concerns about its proximity to a synagogue. On Saturday, protest organizers said coalition leaders, several speakers, and members of the Jewish bloc would walk silently towards the BBC. The plan was to lay flowers as a symbolic gesture to condemn what they described as BBC's complicity in its Gaza coverage. Yes. The organizers clarified that the walk would halt at the furthest point the police allowed them to proceed. Former Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell, Shadow Chancellor, who spoke at the rally in Whitehall, was part of the group that laid flowers and was present when police arrested Nineham. McDonnell pushed back on police claims that protesters had forced through a cordon and said officers had allowed them to go as far as Trafalgar Square before dispersing. Kind of like how they let the people into the Capitol, through the barricades, right? You remember seeing that video? I spoke at Demo and was part of a procession of speakers aiming to go to BBC to lay flowers commemorating the death of Palestinian children. We did not force our way through. The police allowed us to go through, and when stopped in Trafalgar Square, we laid our flowers down and dispersed, McDonnell wrote on Tweeters. He said he would be grateful if the Met could publish the body-camera footage of my conversation with a white-capped police officer at the head of the procession, in which I explained this was our intention. Regrettably, soon after I'd explained to the police officer our intentions and we awaited the arrangements to lay the flowers, bizarrely, the police violently arrested one of the march stewards who was organizing the presentation of the flowers and the dispersal of the crowd, he added. Zach Polanski, deputy leader of the Green Party, also denied the police claims that marchers had forced through a cordon and said he was with the group officers allowed into Trafalgar Square. The original route was set to begin outside the BBC headquarters and proceed to Whitehall, where Downing Street and other government offices are located. Demonstrators said they wanted to protest against the pro-Israel bias of the BBC's coverage of Gaza, but the Metropolitan Police altered the route after objections from pro-Israel groups, Chief Rabbi Ephraim Mirvis, and several MPs. The coalition went back and forth with police over restrictions and routes, with many MPs, celebrities, and prominent figures condemning the restrictions. The Jewish bloc, which plays a major part in marches and demonstrations, also released a statement against the Met's move, garnering over 1,000 signatories. Right? If you got to get permission, it's a parade. So that's what it is. So I know some of you that we've been talking about this week. People heading over to Redbook, or Red Note, I should say, and starting a somewhat of an interesting social experiment there. Why were they there? Because they were TikTok refugees, because TikTok was shut down briefly. But guess what? It's back. TikTok briefly shuts down, restored after Trump pledge. The popular video, this is from the Libertarian Institute, Kyle Anzalone over there. Be sure to check them out. The popular video sharing app TikTok was shut down in the U.S. on Sunday briefly before it was reactivated after President-elect Donald Trump intervened. TikTok became unavailable to Americans after a law banning the app came into effect. Starting Saturday night, TikTok users in the U.S. began receiving a message titled, "Sorry, TikTok isn't available right now." A law banning TikTok has been enacted in the U.S. Unfortunately, that means you can't access TikTok for now, the message continued. We are fortunate that President Trump has indicated that he will work with us on a solution to reinstate TikTok once he takes office. In March, Biden signed a bill that ordered TikTok's Chinese owner ByteDance to divest its shares from the company within 6 months or face an effective ban in the U.S. The deadline for ByteDance to sell TikTok was Sunday. On Friday, the Supreme Court ruled against TikTok's argument that the ban violated the First Amendment, clearing the way for TikTok to become unavailable to Americans. By Sunday afternoon, TikTok started to reactivate for its 170 million American users, after Trump pledged to issue an executive order postponing the ban after he returned to office on Monday. But I thought he was trying to get rid of it while he was in office. That's weird how that works. I'm asking companies not to let TikTok stay dark. I will issue an executive order on Monday to extend the period of time before the law's prohibitions take effect so that we can make a deal to protect our national security, Trump posted on Truth Social. The order will also confirm that there will be no liability for any company that helped keep TikTok from going dark before my order. In a statement, TikTok thanked Trump for his intervention. In agreement with our service providers, TikTok is in the process of restoring service, it continued. We thank President Trump for providing the necessary clarity and assurance to our service providers that they will face no penalties, providing TikTok to over 170 million Americans and allowing over 7 million small businesses to thrive. On Friday, President-elect Trump spoke with Chinese President Xi Jinping. He described the call as very good and said they discussed a range of issues, including TikTok. In his post on Truth Social, Trump explained he wanted a 50% U.S. ownership of TikTok. I'd like the U.S. to have a 50% ownership position in a joint venture. By doing this, we save TikTok, keep it in good hands, and allow it to stay up. Without U.S. approval, there is no TikTok, he wrote. With our approval, it's worth hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe trillions. The TikTok ban passed in March after the bill had failed to gain political momentum for years. The bill only gained the necessary support on Capitol Hill to pass after the content shared on TikTok became overwhelmingly pro-Palestinian. Womp, womp, womp. And that was that. There is that. That's right. That's the whole crux of it, why TikTok was getting the boot, because too many young people were finding out how evil Israel is. But that's not stopping people in Estonia, well, the foreign minister there, though, because they still want that TikTok ban. They want it. They're going to go get it. Estonian Foreign Minister Margus Sakna has accused the social media app of election manipulation as an allegation the Chinese-owned platform previously denied. It's not Chinese-owned, it's Singapore. The EU should consider banning TikTok, Estonian Foreign Minister Sakna said Monday, citing the app's potential security risks as well as its alleged role in spreading disinformation. Maybe have TikTok over American social ownership and guaranteed free speech rights. Yeah, exactly. His comments came after the app briefly ceased working in the U.S. late Saturday as ByteDance, its parent company, failed to meet a January 19th deadline to divest its American operations. And this came after, that thing, I was, okay. Over the past years, we've witnessed TikTok spreading disinformation and being a platform for election manipulations. Banning TikTok must be considered in Europe as well, Sakna said in a post on the tweeters, adding that the app's vast data collection is also known to pose a serious security risk. In an interview with the news portal the same day, Sakna also claimed that there were examples of TikTok being used for interference in democratic processes. Oh, really now? The clearest of this came recently from Romania, where the results of the first round of presidential elections were annulled after it was discovered that Russia had interfered through an extensive online campaign. He told ERR. Contrary to the Estonian foreign minister's claims, an investigation has shown that it was in fact Romania's pro-EU Liberal Party that paid for the TikTok campaign that allegedly boosted the popularity of the election first-round winner, the right-wing anti-NATO Călin Georgescu. Moscow has also repeatedly dismissed the claims that it could have interfered in the Romanian election. TikTok has similarly denied the allegations, stating that it monitors and removes content that in any way misleads people or manipulates our systems. Sakna claimed that platforms such as TikTok do not provide balanced information but serve as tools for spreading biased content. You mean it doesn't provide lies that to go along with the truth? TikTok is not media, it is a weapon of influence, he stated. The minister said that the app's data collection practices also raise concerns, particularly since TikTok is owned by a Chinese company. They're not owned by a Chinese company, they're owned by Singapore. There's a legitimate concern that the data could end up in the hands of Chinese authorities, he claimed, citing a report last year by the Estonian Foreign Intelligence Service that claimed the platform collects information that could be used for intelligence gathering, blackmail, or even cyber attacks. TikTok was restored for U.S. users on Sunday, and then we already told you about that bullshit. So, I mean, it's basically keeping information out of the hands of teenagers who could be radicalized by that information, right? Young people, they don't want young people to know this shit right off the bat. They want them to wait for them to learn about this shit when they're old and it's too late for them to do anything about it. But see, that's the rub. You got to get them while they're young. You got to take them out of the information loop. Meanwhile, CNN has been found liable for defaming a U.S. Navy veteran who helped people evacuate Afghanistan. CNN, I'm shocked. CNN on Friday settled with a U.S. Navy veteran who helped evacuate people from Afghanistan after the U.S. military withdrew from the country in 2021. A judge said on Friday, hours after a jury found the TV news outlet liable for defaming him. A 6-person jury decided CNN had to pay damages totaling $5 million smackaroonies. The settlement will avert a second phase of the trial that would have determined any punitive damages. Punitive damages! The verdict followed a 2-week trial in Panama City, Florida. Circuit Judge William Henry did not provide details of the deal in announcing the settlement in open court. Plaintiff Zachary Young sued CNN in 2022, accusing the Warner Brothers Discovery Unit of destroying his reputation in a segment on The Lead with Jake Tapper by branding him as a profiteer who exploited desperate Afghans by charging exorbitant fees. CNN stood by its story and denied defaming Young, though the network said in March 2022 that it regretted using the term black market to describe Young's work. A CNN representative said the network remains proud of its journalists, but will of course take what useful lessons we can from this case. The representative declined to offer details of the deal. Young's lawyer, Vel Friedman, said in a statement that he was very pleased to clear Young's name, obtain punitive damages, and settle the case. Young, wearing a dark suit and blue tie, smiled as Henry thanked the lawyers for their work before dismissing them. The case stems from Young's work as a security consultant helping corporations and charities extract people from Afghanistan after the Taliban swiftly took back control following the chaotic U.S. withdrawal. In a segment on The Lead, CNN said desperate Afghans trying to escape the country were being exploited with exorbitant and impossible fees charged for evacuations. The segment turned to focus on Young displaying his name and photo next to a chyron, that's the text on the screen, saying evacuees faced a perilous black market. The sum and substance of the segment states and implies that Young marketed evacuations directly to Afghan citizens, that he exploited Afghan citizens, and that he sold them illegal goods and services on a black market, Young said in his lawsuit. So getting a little bit of retribution there from CNN, or at least their parent company, to pay for that shit. They're not journalists. They're propagandists. There's a very big difference. And finally, with Trump entering office, there's always some scams and schemes surrounding him. So crypto billionaire Trump already cashing in on the presidency with a meme coin. Apparently it crashed after his wife released one as well. So Donald Trump faced a flood of criticism throughout the weekend for launching a cryptocurrency token as the world prepared for his Monday inauguration, and policies expected to benefit the industry that helped Republicans take control of the White House and Congress. It is literally cashing in on the presidency, creating a financial instrument so people can transfer money to the president's family in connection with his office, Campaign Legal Center Executive Director Adav Noti told the New York Times. It's beyond unprecedented. Jordan Leibowitz, Vice President for Communications at Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, something that responsibility and ethics does not exist in Washington. Also contrasted Trump's move with behaviors of past presidents, telling Politico it's absolutely wild. After decades of seeing presidents-elect spend the time leading up to inauguration separating themselves from their finances to show that they don't have any conflicts of interest, we now have a president-elect who, the weekend before inauguration, is launching new businesses along with promises to deregulate those sectors in a way to just blatantly profit off his own presidency, said Leibowitz. The president-elect announced the Trump meme coin hosted on the Solana blockchain via his Truth social media platform and tweeters owned by Elon Musk, his ally and the richest person on the planet, on Friday, declaring that it's time to celebrate everything we stand for, winning. He linked to a website that explains there are 200 million Trump available, Trump coins available on day one and will grow to a total of 1 billion over 3 years. It also states that Trump memes are intended to function as an expression of support for and engagement with the ideals and beliefs embodied by the symbol Trump with the $ there, and the associated artwork, and are not intended to be or to be the subject of an investment opportunity, investments, contract, or security of any type. Forbes reported that the remaining 80% of tokens that have yet to be publicly released are owned by the Trump Organization affiliate CIC Digital LLC and Fight LLC, a company formed in Delaware on January 7th, according to state filings. And both companies will receive an undisclosed amount of revenue derived from trading activity. The president-elect's son, Eric Trump, who helps run Trump Organization, told the Times that this is just the beginning. I'm extremely proud of what we continue to accomplish in crypto, he said in a statement. Trump coin is currently the hottest digital meme on earth. In an article simply headlined Donald Trump Crypto Billionaire, Axios noted that by Sunday morning, Trump's crypto holdings were worth as much as $58 billion on paper, enough with its other assets to make him one of the world's 25 richest people. Responded Axios' report, while Al-Zayat, who served as a Middle East policy expert at the U.S. Department of State for a decade, said that when I was in government, I couldn't accept a lunch over $20. Now anyone can give our next president millions. Predicting that this is going to end very badly for everyone except Donald Trump and his cronies, journalist Jeff St. John said that it is a scandal and an outrage. The meme coin announcement came as the elite of the crypto world gathered in Washington, D.C. for the first ever crypto ball. The president-elect did not attend the event, but House Speaker Mike Johnson and the nominees for Commerce and Treasury Secretary Howard Lutnick and Scott Bessent were there. Reporting on the gala, Reuters pointed out that Trump courted crypto campaign cash with promises to be a crypto president and is expecting next week to issue executive orders aimed at reducing crypto regulatory roadblocks and promoting widespread adoption of digital assets. The meme coin is just the latest in a bizarre line of grifty, super weird takes on merch. Last February, Trump showed off gold Never Surrender high tops for $3.99 at SneakerCon, which had Fox News applauding his appeal to black voters. Oh, boy. In March, he began endorsing the $60 God Bless the USA Bible, which includes the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and handwritten lyrics to the chorus of Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA. Trump's inaugural committee has confirmed that he will not be using one of these Bibles to swear the presidential oath of office. In August, Trump released a new round of his baseball card NFTs as well. During his first term, Trump's D.C. hotel was a convenient way for foreigners and domestic lobbyists to put cash directly into his pocket. Yeah, I remember that, the whole deal with his hotels. This crypto thing is next level. Anyone on the planet can put money directly into his pocket. Huge. Somebody said the efficiency here is a thing of beauty. With a hotel, you have all the costs of owning the property as well as paying cleaning staff, front desk staff, and so on. This selling of fake money is almost pure profit. The Trump Organization sold the D.C. hotel in 2022, but the Wall Street Journal reported earlier this month that his real estate company is in talks to reclaim the property. Yes. So there you go. and all the, I have a feeling that this propaganda watch thing is probably just going to end up being the show. We might have a little news on the side, because I mean, yeah, Biden was bad enough, but this is like a whole other level of bullshittery that's going to be going on, just like last time. So, finally, folks, Iraq is very proud of its beautiful cocks, right? And you say, whoa, potty mouth. What are you talking about? What are you saying? I'm talking about chickens, fool. Iran hosts a rooster beauty contest. The roosters were judged on the basis of breed, size, color, feather quality, and body conformation. This bird not having it. Look at this. Like, no, sir, not gonna like it. So yeah. So Iraq hosted beauty contest for the chickens. The roosters were judged on the basis of breed, color, size, feather quality, political opinions. The winning rooster scored 96 points, with judges noting its facial features, deep-set eyes, and ability to charm the judges with its singing. Yeah, so chickens. It's not just for Saturday nights anymore. Yeah, so that was that. Chicken contest. I don't know, man. All this bad news, you try to end it with, something silly, and, things just kind of go tits up, as it were. So yeah, so today is Inauguration Day. Trump's back in the hot seat. We'll see what happens with him. Of course, we'll always be covering the news. That's what we do here best. So Willie, I think you got a show on later today. Is that right? Are you on Mondays? And I know D from Around the World, and D and Friends is on tonight. And our buddy Kevin at Black Bear News should be on this afternoon around 2 p.m. Eastern, I think. He's also going to be on the show Wednesday night on ExtraBulla Live, Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Kevin is from Black Bear News. We're going to talk about what's going on out there and basically everything that's going on right there. And what's going on with his life. He lost practically everything. He has a place to stay, fortunately, but, rebuilding your life like that, when you lose a whole bunch of stuff, it's a little weird. And it's definitely different. So we'll talk to him about all that and see how he's doing. So we love our pals around here. So, oh yeah, okay. So Willie said Angel Rivera is going to be on with him tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and Twitch. So check out Willie Bragg's show. Willie Bragg tonight. Come see old Willie and his friends. Yeah, so I will be back with this show on Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time. If you're a big fan, of independent media or aggregating sources like this that gets independent media to you, if you could help us out, we've got our Patreon you can join for $1 a month, or if you want to slip us some cash, there's all kinds of cash money options down there. If you could share out the links, that would help us out too. And give us a like, share, and subscribe too if you're brand new. If you're lurking and you're like, I'm not quite sure about this guy, but I'll give him a like and a subscription, to help him out. So Willie, you're going to be on with ATP tonight with Andre and Tired Peasant at 5 p.m. Eastern. Okay, that won't be too long from now. So there are a lot of us trying to do put stuff out here in the space, try and get you informed, entertained, all that good stuff. So help us do that, and we'll help try and keep you knowledgeable and well-rounded, as it were. That's it for me. Thank you, everybody. Y'all have a great day. Love each and every one of you. Behave yourselves. Don't join the cults. Use your critical thinking skills and think for yourself, because when other people start thinking for you, that's when the shit hits the fan, and it's not good for anybody. So Anyway, peace out. We'll see you next time. Woo!
This is City Alpha 5!
Soon.